Blizzard really did a genius thing here. They implemented a new world content feature called the Delve system, and it has a whole suite of progression alongside of it. And it fully unlocked this week with the season, but they intentionally limited Mythic Plus and Mythic Raid to try to funnel people into the Delve system. And this worked out absolutely beautifully. In this video, I'm going to give my thoughts on the Delve system and everything I interacted with this week. But before we begin, I want to say that I've been doing these as a Blood Death Knight, and a lot of people are basically trying to say like, oh, well, because of that, your opinions are either like less credible or less valid in some way. And I just want to respond to that right now because I want to remind you guys that I was not born into Blood Death Knight. It was a choice. I chose to play Blood Death Knight, and it's for all the reasons that you guys are reacting to me dominating the delves. AMS, Vamp Blood, tons of self-healing, tons of utility, Death Grip, making certain things so much easier. These are the reasons I picked Blood Death Knight. The same reasons they're powerful in Mythic Plus are the same reasons they're played in delves. So unfortunately, you chose non-Blood Death Knight if you're reacting this way. Like, I don't know what to tell you. This is the choice that you made in your class. And yeah, unfortunately, like the game will never be perfectly balanced in a world where this type of utility can thrive. But I think this is a good thing because for years, the only real pinnacle of PvE content was raid bosses, content that couldn't be stunned, content that couldn't be gripped, things that you had a very formulaic approach to. But now things like Blood Death Knight and really kind of like some tanks and some specs in general, they have such a wide utility kit that they can really blur the difficulty there, and a good player can really make that kit shine in certain content. And that's exactly what you're seeing in the delve system today. I'm sure your class has plenty of options to be more strong than a lot of people are recognizing as well. And I think that's one of the biggest issues with this conversation. It seems like a lot of people are just trying to basically go into it with their like normal, like maybe raid or even Mythic Plus loadout, and they're just not thinking about what it means to do challenging solo content. So if you watch me dominate the delves, you should also recognize that I have a lot of experience doing leveling challenges and things where the open world is hard, and I have gotten used to ways to play around that. I've been asking for this and I have not received it whatsoever, but people continue to tell me that they are unable to solo tier 8 delves, and I have challenged people to produce footage of this and it's not come. So if anybody out there is actually playing at like a DPS spec at all, or really any spec at all, and you are feeling like you are unable to survive and solo a tier 8 delve, please send me footage of you doing it and I will try my best to help you. But in terms of my thoughts on delves, I will say that they are absolutely spectacular, and I'm going to say something that is very strongly worded here, and I am not lying or exaggerating about it, okay? This has the best gameplay I have ever encountered in World of Warcraft as me playing a Blood Death Knight. A lot of that is because it is solo content. A lot of it is because it is like that world content style where so many different things can be thought about and interacted with. Mythic Plus is not out right now, but it's just like really rewarding to know that when you're alone in this content, everything that you do is your fault. You cannot blame anybody else on it. You know that if you failed, you have no choice but to play better. And that coupled with the difficulty of like the tier 11 delves has been very, very rewarding for me. I like that feeling of, okay, I need to get better. I need to work on what I can do and what I can't do. And that content has delivered that to me in spades. Now, Mythic Plus does too, obviously. And the big difference here is Mythic Plus has an infinitely scaling difficulty. If there was an infinitely scaling difficulty in the delve system and there was kind of like a Radar IO score type thing, and I think classes were a little bit more balanced, like if I could compare myself against other people more evenly, I would probably say that delves are the best progression content in the game, and I might actually switch hardcore to them. But that won't be happening because there are a few serious pitfalls with the delve system that I'm going to address right now. Number one is the reward system. Now, as of this week, it is a very, very good and interesting reward system because we were able to bank up all of our keys. But this is a problem for two different reasons. One, it actually encouraged you to do it, and if you didn't do it, there was no way to get the keys. So I know multiple people who were like, they didn't hear about this idea of banking the keys, or they didn't know that the world content even gave the keys. So they missed out on at least 1 week, maybe even 2 weeks of these keys, and now they're coming in just short on what they have. So they have way less options to gear. This is a very bad system, frankly, and the fact that there is no catch up for the keys whatsoever, from what I can tell, this is a really, really bad and not a very good encouragement to get people into this system this week. What's even worse though is the fact that it's pretty much all through bountiful delves. So if you wanted to do 8 hours of delves, you're pretty much not able to. You can do the non-bountiful delves, and yes, they are fun, and I think honestly a level 11 delve is probably the most fun content in the game, regardless of if it's bountiful right now before Mythic Plus launches. But unfortunately, it just gives you absolutely nothing. Like, I think you get undercoins no matter what. I don't fully understand that currency or its purpose, so maybe you guys know more about it and you can comment. But you cannot get experience for Bran for some reason. I have no idea why. It seems like there's experience caps on Bran. I don't really understand that, but I think ultimately the biggest problem with the system is that these non-bountiful delves give you gear that is frankly insulting. Like, it's absolutely absurd that this item even drops. Just have no item drop and it would be better in my eyes. It's like a 554, I think, maybe 556 green item that is just useless. I have no idea why it's even there. I'm not even sure that gear piece can be upgraded. It's basically worse than a BOE that you can just buy in the auction house for a few thousand gold. To me, it reads like an error, like Blizzard accidentally didn't flip a switch where the gear gets better as you go up in higher delves. I don't really understand how that part works, but all I know is that item is just utterly embarrassing. Just to see that drop, it honestly makes me a little angry because, you know, you could spend like 20 minutes in there wiping, getting kind of farmed by some of those mini bosses and stuff in there. They're very dangerous. And then you get to the end and you basically get nothing. So the delve system has a serious problem with rewards right now, especially because of how limited the keys can potentially be and how limited you can progress like week to week or really day to day. That's even the bigger problem. Like, you know, if I wanted to do a bunch of hours of Mythic Plus, I can go in with no issues whatsoever, but the delve system is kind of not encouraging me to do that right now. The other problem though, it seems to be a serious lack of balance in the delve system. And again, we're kind of getting back to the first topic we brought up. This is to be expected. In world content, in solo content in World of Warcraft, there's going to be tremendous imbalance. There's been a situation over the many years where, you know, classes become more and more homogenized and better balanced in like large group content or even in small group content, but they've never had to balance the game in solo content very well at all. I don't know exactly what things like stealth might impact in these delves either, but I imagine like some classes have hugely inherent advantages, and I think that's meant to be made up by the fact that you have Brand there to potentially augment your ability. Now, early on in the week, it seemed like Brand was meant to carry you, and we'll come to like the secret delve at the end. We'll talk a little bit about that too, but I really like the idea of like the let me solo him thing where he is actually the strongest person in the party and you're there to support him. It seems now that that was not intended. I can't really understand what their changes are identifying as problems, but it has now become a little bit less like that as we move on. And I think one of the biggest changes was they made it so group-based delves are way harder. Now, I think they undid that change. You guys do regularly do delves with 5 people. You can tell me before the change, during the change, and now after the change how things have played out. But one way or the other, I do support the idea that delves as a group should definitely be harder than delves solo, like just numerically, because you have way more ability to make up for mistakes. If you have 5 people, you can kind of blur that line pretty substantially, and those people can make up for each other's mistakes to the point where you have like an abundance of interrupts all for one specific spell now. That just makes it easier, and that should be punished. You know, like you should be getting punished if you are all not playing well. You should be getting punished. Maybe you'd be up to like 5 times as much if you have 5 players all failing. To me, this was marketed as solo content though, and I really do like it. Like I've said, if you had the ability to have like an infinitely scaling delve with true difficulty, like better balanced difficulty, I think this could be the best content in the entire game. Do I think Blizzard will do that? I do not think Blizzard will do that, and I don't think they want to do that. I don't think they want this content to be a competitive pathway. I think at its heart, it is meant to be farmable, low difficulty content, and then like the highest difficulty is just there to be like, maybe you want an extra challenge. But that's kind of the biggest issue I have with the system right now is the lack of rewards make me not really care too much about it outside of this week, and the fact that it is not like, you know, it's not really difficult. I already have no problem clearing most of the 11 delves on the Death Knight, and we're at the very infancy stage of our gearing process. So I'd imagine once the season is basically at its close, I would be able to just walk through and like AoE everything down without any concern. I actually do look forward to doing that because there is a good amount of achievements and stuff you can do in delves, but for the most part, it's a very unrewarding system with amazing gameplay. It may be the worst example of that ever. Like the gameplay is so friggin' good that if reward structures and incentives were there like they are for Mythic Plus and even for Raid and other content in the PvE schema, I could see myself doing this full time for the rest of the season. But of course we won't, because the Mythic Plus system just encourages you to have so many hilarious moments, and they can happen in delves too. I don't know how many people are like pugging difficult delves, but we did get submitted a clip that I didn't think was worth its own video, but it is a really funny thing. Like if we saw this happen in a Mythic Plus, we would definitely be making a video on it. So I figured I might as well show it in this. One of the coolest things about delves is like how many different mechanics there are and things that are challenging you on any individual boss. And I think this is one of the most difficult bosses, but also one of the best bosses because of how many of these things are happening, but how many of them are avoidable. So you see these guys are trying to do like a delve with like a bunch of people, and we got Warrior. The Warrior tank kind of charges in, pulls all of these, and then like everybody just kind of stands in them. Like I don't think people even try to get out of those. They're actually going to wipe to this. They're just like not able to survive the other mechanics now. So they have one player alive. It's the Rogue. The hard part about this is that there's like so many things to dodge on this platform, and yeah, ultimately that guy just succumbs to that fact. This is a funny little moment to watch. You can see the shaman, he's trying to run away, but he lands on the mushroom, so he gets knocked all the way back up. See him running away. I think he's trying to reset it. Bran's just like straight up tanking it right now. The Devilsaur, I think, has threat. The Rogue says, I believe in you, Bran, but it looks like it's now like evaded or something. The Shaman is like down there attacking, like I think so he ends up pulling threat, or I guess like Bran goes down there too, and now because the mushroom guy can't get down to him, it's like evading and he's like healing. So it's just a disaster. Like I said, if this happened in a Mythic Plus, this would be a full video. But he is ultimately going to reset, I guess, for whatever reason he decides to reset just then. Now, because of the death system, the Shaman says don't release. This is before they changed the death system, so he's going to go ahead and res us. The guy says that cost us a life because the one guy did release. He doesn't understand. Like back then, like releasing was what caused the death to go away. So you can already tell this guy's like on edge because of how all that went. So really high quality advice coming in here. The Shaman now says you have to be able to dodge the spores. Thank you so much for that advice. I never thought about that. So when they get back up here, the warrior, I guess like the tank or whatever, is going to start clearing these out. And this is actually the right choice. We'll come back to this in a second, but he's going to kill this one. And then when that one dies, it launches the other one into the backpedaling, tough talking Shaman, who then also gets splatted by it. I don't know that I'll ever get sick of watching this. Watch this. Here it goes. 3, 2, 1. Knocks that one over there as it's exploding, and it kills, like, it actually knocks Bran away too. You can watch this 100 times, but watch this. Knocks it. It's like really perfect too. It literally, as it's casting 3, 2, 1, it lands and just instantly eats that Shaman alive. So now, you know, you've seen this. There's multiple videos of this type of interaction in Mythic Plus as well. You've seen this same thing happen a million times, right? The Shaman goes, really? Why pull random side shit and kill me with it? Like, is that really your assessment of the situation, bro? Like, come on, man. If you have no idea what happened, I guess that you might be your assessment of it, but like, that was truly just hilarious, right? Like, there's no way you could get mad over this. He says, I'm trying to clear some to not have 5 at once. And yeah, that's the right choice. Like, it makes it a lot easier. The Shaman kind of accurately, but inaccurately points out that they respawn during the fight and that you can use them on the boss. You just have to dodge them. So he's right and wrong, because they do respawn, but they take so long to respawn that if you cleared all of these out before you pull this boss, they won't come back in the pull. I tried this when I was doing like the higher delves progression, and it's definitely the right choice. You see how much easier and how much cleaner this is. That's World of Warcraft in a nutshell, and you know, that's something that you don't have in the delve system. And whether or not you think that's a good thing or a bad thing is up to you. Like, to me, I do think it is a good thing because I like being able to do hard content solo, and like I said, feel like I'm the main one making the progress. But at the same time, you miss out on these hilarious, crazy, wacky moments that only like Mythic Plus and that kind of difficulty can offer. But there is another factor to the delve system, and this is what I want to talk about now for the rest of this video. There is a like hidden delve, like a secret delve. From what I can tell, this will be a seasonal feature, at least, you know, if it goes over well. I'd imagine they'll do this every season. It is called Zekvir's Lair. Now, I did make a video on this and me finishing it and what I thought was the world first kill of it. I was wrong about that. There was at least one guy who did it before me. Recently, they have nerfed this, and I don't understand what the point of the nerf was. From what I could tell, it was way better off there. I think they should have just tripled his health. Like, the fact that Bran did so much damage and was a huge part of your success rate, that felt a lot better than it does right now. Right now, it feels like you pretty much have to do all the work yourself because Bran is very inconsistent and he does a lot less damage. Now, a lot of people were contesting about the actual damage nerf here, and I have some, you know, relatively hard evidence of this here. I recorded myself doing about 40 minutes of this morning to test it out. At no point did I even come close to killing it. A lot of people are saying it is now impossible, and I could see why you would say that, because compared to what it was like before, where it was like a 3-minute pull or less, it does look like it would be impossible. I have not killed it a second time because I simply don't have the time for that right now in my life, but I definitely can do it. It's not impossible, and especially as a Blood DK. Maybe as other specs now it becomes a lot harder, but as Blood DK you have so many tools. So let's go ahead and look at a little bit of that footage right now. So all the same strategies apply, but there is a little bit of like a new tech that people have discovered, that if you tank him up here, especially inside this like little house looking door thing, he will be way more likely to spawn ads right underneath him. This can easily compensate for the fact that Bran is not able to easily kill them on his own anymore, or that like he can mess around and still accidentally kill them. This will mean that, like, you know, whatever AoE you guys are doing will also be damaging the boss. The biggest issue with the change is that the boss also has more health on top of Bran's damage being much lower. But as you see, the spell nerfs to any spell damage in delves, which I believe was a 20% nerf, means that I can now easily survive all of these things. We let ourselves get hit by the fear, we let ourselves get hit by the web tear player's cast, and as you see, it is just doing absolutely nothing. Now, a big part of this is my gear. I'm sure I've gotten a lot of gear, and I've also gotten a lot of new levels for Brand since the last time I did it, but yeah, you know, I can get stunned, I can have the enfeeble spit go off, and it is very, very survivable. So if you're playing a class where this is not true, then yeah, I can see why you might think that this is impossible, but at least for Blood DK, really the only thing you have to do is kill the boss. Most of these things are not going to kill you, and unless you're not keeping your health high, they're not really even in danger of killing you. And it's to a point now where actually interrupting the heal is the only real thing that matters, because that heal is now going to take multiple minutes of your progress away. I think the lowest I got him was in the 70s, and it's just really punishing because it heals for like 10% every time it heals, and that's, yeah, like multiple minutes. I think if I were to kill this, it would probably take me like over 15 minutes. But yeah, you see the cocoon doesn't always spawn underneath him when he's in this spot. I think the right choice as the Blood Death Knight in this case is to simply let the ad spawn and then just like deal with it. Like I said, as long as you don't actually get stunned into another mechanic, these things aren't going to kill you, at least again with the gear I have right now. So down the road, this should be even easier. And I think, you know, once Brand is fully maxed out and once we're fully geared, this looks a lot different. But yeah, ultimately, as you see, like the big issue here, we're still doing like pretty good damage. I mean, 850k damage here. Brand has been nerfed. So I have a little bit of a calculation on the screen here. I'll show you guys that now. This is what his damage looks like from a representative pull. As you see, it is no longer overwhelmingly the top damage, but I am going to add all of it up, and it is going to come out to, yeah, not too bad. Still well over 50% of my damage is Bran. When I killed it, it was 80 some, I think it was 85%, and now it is like 54-ish. I would just say 50% of my damage is Bran. This is not like purely accurate, and it's going to be really hard to measure, but the fact that he's still like half my damage tells you that, like, you know, the nerf wasn't that substantial. I think they just, you know, they also gave Zagvir a lot more health. He has like 20 million more health, as at least on my character. I don't know why that changed. I don't know if maybe that has something to do with item level, or maybe it's something even to do with Brand's level, because that was not mentioned in any type of patch note or anything. And I think that's what's the most confusing about this, was because it was really perfect. It really was. All the boss needed was more health, and it would have been a really, really, really good challenge. So I'd be very, very interested in seeing people who have actually killed it after the change, if anybody has. I've been told that Brand also isn't really able to keep threat anymore. I don't know if that's purely because of his damage change or what. I kind of feel bad about getting the achievement and then kind of walking away from it. That's why I wanted to give it a couple, like, you know, a lot of pulls here. Did you have a lot of bullshit like that happen too, by the way, where it's just like stuck on this stupid part of this fence? Just be aware that if you do tank it up here, it's very frustrating, because you're going to have a lot of pulls where you're trying to run out of stuff and you get stuck on these little lips of this little raised platform area, especially on the two right and left sides. The stairs work seemingly pretty well, but there's a lot of stuff you can get stuck on. So I had a lot of deaths where that just happens, but it is not like in any way guaranteed that the ad is going to spawn underneath him. It's just like heavily preferred. Probably like 50% of the time it does spawn. And I think especially as a Blood DK, if it spawns anywhere else, you just let it spawn and just, you know, AoE it down basically. I think really the biggest reason that this might become impossible is Brand dies. You see he just randomly dies there. Yeah, we talked about this a ton. Really the worst part about the Delve system is the AI of Brand. If it was more consistent, he would be absolutely overpowered though, and it's a really tough problem to solve, because I don't know how you make AI in this game and not carry you. So you almost have to design bad AI on purpose, and that's just not fun. It's actually an interesting problem, because I've been a huge proponent of having AI like accomplices in difficult content for a long period of time. Hopefully in the future they'll find a way to smooth that out. At least if you can choose to get him to switch targets, it would make this a lot easier. But anyway, I think this is some of the best content in the game, and in the original iteration I would have said that very, very confidently. We'll see what this looks like now at the end of the season. Considering how hard it is right now, I don't think I will try it again, just because I already have the achievement. But that's my thoughts on the Delve system. Let me know what you guys think about it. Stay tuned. We got the best video of the entire expansion probably coming tomorrow. Is a clip from the first live stream, and we are blessed by a run that I don't think will ever be matched in its hilarity. So stay tuned. And then if you guys are watching this and the season is fast approaching, please make sure you guys are recording your Mythic Plus runs for next week. I'm going to try my best to stream. Unfortunately, I have gotten sick as I predicted, and I look forward to hopefully the servers being up early and us getting a nice long week of streaming in. Provided I feel up to it, I am going to definitely be streaming as much as humanly possible next week. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. We will see you guys in the next one.